this program and not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM, Facebook, and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, should Jamaica take a gamble with casinos? And in the second watch, concerns about e-waste. For our social media question, we ask, do you believe Jamaica is ready for casinos? Why or why not? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. Today's I quote. It says, "We are free to choose our actions, but we are not free to choose the consequences of our actions." And this is from Stephen R. Covey.
Hi, good morning, Joka.
Good morning.
Speaking about actions and consequences, how was the Sigma run for you last Sunday?
Boy, I'm reaping the consequences. I am sore from head to toe. Listen to me. But it was for a good cause.
It was a good cause. A lot of people, eh?
Over 31,000 people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I went. It was really, really good.
Yeah. You had an idea where you were placed, Joka?
I was placed, I'll tell you after the other break.
All right.
It's in my email. I have to look for it.
All right, good.
I know I did 59 minutes.
What?
Under an hour. Thank God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, man. The first watch after this break.
This is a special announcement from Love 101 and Love Television. Our general offices will be closed to the public on Ash Wednesday, February 18, and will reopen on Thursday, February 19 at 8:30 a.m. Programs and commercials for Wednesday, February 18 and Thursday, February 19 should be submitted by 1 p.m. Tuesday, February 17, and obituaries and notices by 1:30 p.m. on the same day to ensure scheduling for broadcast. Love 101 and Love TV wish for you and yours a peaceful, prayerful, and productive Ash Wednesday.
Tuesday, February 17, on The Rock, we explore a truth as old as scripture, but just as urgent today: the wonders of the tongue. Join guests Angela and Homer Slack as they dig into the power of words. The tongue may be small, but its impact massive. Spiritually, socially, and emotionally, it can build a nation or burn a family down. We're opening the books of James and Proverbs and asking, are we using our tongues as instruments of life or weapons of destruction? All this and more on The Rock, Tuesday, February 17 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
February is the month of love, and wherever love is, peace is present. On the next Campus Connection, we shine the spotlight on peace in practice. Peace is more than a dream. It's a daily discipline. It invites each of us to become active peacemakers in our own lives. Peace is possible when love leads the way. Join us as Dania Aniki, nursing student at Seton Hall University, and Kadisha Williams, youth pastor and student at Portmore Community College, explore how words and images can inspire you to take simple, intentional steps towards peace and embrace the beauty of the present moment. And don't miss our special feature with representatives from the Restorative Justice Branch within the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, who will be speaking on the value of mediation and dispute resolution among our youth. Campus Connection is proudly brought to you by the Live Good Anti-Violence Campaign, an initiative of the Ministry of National Security and Peace, Jamaica's partner in advancing progress and building peace. Tune in on Tuesday, February 17 at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 FM, the family station, celebrating 33 years of shining the light of Christ to the world.
Things are going on from Jambos. Come on, tell me what one. Jambos connection, take another one now. Hey, I want one from Jambos.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, an editorial published in the Jamaica Observer argues that while casinos promise economic benefits, such as job creation and tourism revenue, the country must first address gambling addiction, regulatory oversight, and social protections. Now, the concern is not simply about entertainment, but about the long-term implications, especially for families, the youth, and low-income communities. And to discuss, therefore, this important national issue and development, we're joined by the Reverend Everald Edwards, pastor of the Twickenham Park Open Bible Church, and Father Sean Major Campbell, rector of Christ Church in Vineyard Town, and also a human rights advocate. Good morning to you both.
Thank you, Reverend Toussaint. Good morning to our colleague and listeners.
Great, good to have you both with us. Now, gentlemen, we're talking about gambling in the context of casinos. But for the record, what is your understanding of what gambling is? And I need to ask, is it a sin? Beginning with you, Father Major Campbell.
Gambling is, first of all, based on chance. So it's a game of chance.
Mm-hmm.
It has its genesis really in fantasy. But fantasy is problematic in that it distorts reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if I would just say gambling is a sin. I believe it is a habit that has unwholesome dimensions about it, and that people should be educated about the dangers of gambling.
Mm-hmm.
It's similarly, so it's like owning a gun legally comes with potential negative situations.
Mm-hmm.
But if persons are educated and they observe certain ethical approaches, then it does not have to become a negative thing. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wouldn't just make a blanket statement and say that
We wouldn't call it a sin, but it could lead to that easily.
correct.
Yeah, a game of chance. Reverend Edwards, your take?
We all take chances.
different points in our life. We don't even know if the bus we take to work or the taxi we take down Mullines Road or Reddles Road will not be stopped by the police for some risk that the driver takes to get to halfway train time. We take a risk when we plant our crops because the weather might change and bitter cold kills the prospects. So we admit that there is an element of risk. The trouble is with gambling, in my mind, is the element of wanting to reap where we have not sown. And that is where we have the dilemma, because the gambling itself is counter to the standards that make for more wholesome values in a society, where you reap what you sow. If you want to make your living out of gambling, you're going to get yourself into all kinds of other troubles that have impact not just on you, but on the responsibilities you have as an individual and on the people who you have responsibility to. So school fee and rent and grocery can get affected because you see an opportunity, you gamble what you have, and you lose it all. And let's not forget that more people lose out of gambling than those who win. And you lose more, 9 times out of 10, than what you stake.
Yeah. You mentioned, I want to drill a little bit more at what you just said, Reverend Edwards. You mentioned about we all live with chances and risks. We take those every day. But the element of wanting to reap where we have not sown. If the gambler argues that he or she has sown by what they would have contributed to the gambling process, what would be your response to that?
There is that is the appeal that comes to quote gambling as I gamble 50 cents and I make $22. That is the appeal. But what have you had? How much have you invested over time to win the $22 or whatever it is? So there is always the appeal that you're going to get more than what you put in. And the truth of the matter is, when you do the analysis, more is being put in, more grief is being caused to benefit a few. And if more wasn't being put in, then the organizers of the gambling scheme would not be in business.
Is it a sin, Reverend Edwards?
It is a sin because it goes against the moral foundations upon which a wholesome family life and national life are founded.
May I ask a question?
Yes, but well, not me, but go ahead. I'm sure the host will.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay. Gentlemen, we're up on a break, so we'll sort that out after. Soon come back with this interesting discussion.
Time on Love 101 is now 7:15 a.m.
All the drama, laughter, and niceness is in Big Yard Vibes at Pantomime. No fun for the whole family. So bring your mother, your father, your granny to pick them rough, but not the dog, to Big Yard Vibes. Playing Saturdays at 2 p.m. and Sundays at 4:30 p.m. at the Little Theatre. Call 876-826-2286 or 876-851-5182 for details.
We're going to reconstruct areas that were damaged, but we're going to do it with a forward thinking. We're going to seek to include new businesses and new infrastructure, including new towns, new roads, new schools, new hospitals. We have to build them with the next hurricane, the next shock in mind. We have to build them with resilience.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
GT Sound Limited proudly presents The Experience Gratitude Edition. VIP 10,000. General resold 2,500. 3,000 at the gate. Early bird tickets until the end of February. 2,000. Students 1,500. Children 500. Tickets at sparopen.com/theexperience26. Saturday, April 4. Manchester High School. Gates open 5 p.m. Showtime 7 p.m. Come with your best praise as GT Sound celebrates 40 years.
Hurricane Melissa may be over, but the emotional impact can linger. It's normal to feel anxious, sad, or overwhelmed. Talk about your feelings. Stay connected with family and friends and reach out for help if you need it. Call the Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Helpline at 888-NEW LIFE. That's 888-639-5433. You can also access the You Matter chat line by messaging the word support to 876-838-4897 or at You Report Jamaica. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is the first watch. We're asking the question, should Jamaica take a gamble with casinos? And in so doing, we have online Father Sean Major Campbell, rector of Christ Church in Vineyard Town, and he's a human rights advocate, as well as the Reverend Everett Edwards, pastor of the Twickenham Open Bible Church. That's Twickenham Park Open Bible Church. Before the break, we were hearing first from Father Sean Major Campbell that gambling is really a game of chance, and it has its genesis in fantasy. And even though it's not necessarily a sin, it may lead to sin. We're hearing from Reverend Edwards that the whole element of wanting to reap where we have not sown is of concern. And he regards it as a sin because it goes against the moral foundations of a stable family life, etc. Reverend Edwards, I'm not sure you're finished with your thought before we took the break, and then Father Major Campbell wanted to come in. Reverend Edwards.
Father Campbell had a question that.
Okay, you want to accommodate the question?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Father Major Campbell.
And the question is generally, not just particularly towards Pastor Edwards now, but just into general. Consider a church bingo at which the most you can win is $5, and I'm talking about actual situation, certainly in the United States.
A church bingo, you said?
Church bingo, yes.
Okay, good, yes.
The purpose being coffee fellowship and the fun on a weekday morning for the elderly once per week. Have those elderly folks singed because they come out on a Wednesday morning to have coffee and bingo and have a little time out away from being locked up, whether in the nursing home or at home. And what about a lotto ticket? Again, I think a helpful approach is to encourage responsible behavior. However, is it okay to acknowledge, and here I'm being personal, that if I knew there was a good chance of winning, I would quite likely buy a ticket. However, the fact is that the rich gets richer and the poor often gets poorer.
So you're saying that those two examples there are examples of gambling?
Yes,
Okay.
similarly, the same applies to our music. This can be quite exciting too.
Okay.
The idea of a chance of winning a brand new motor vehicle by spending only $5,000 is pretty appealing.
Yes.
This is gambling and would indeed not be encouraged by the church. However, it is another example of something I believe may be done with reason. And I say all this recognizing that the biblical principles of stewardship and contentment are not things that are necessarily embraced in the practice of gambling, generally speaking. So I'm saying education, it versus just telling people you are sinned or you will be punished. You know, education.
All right. Reverend Edwards, you want to respond to that? The church bingo?
I would not, because I don't know if well, we gamble on, if we're going to expand that, we gamble on football, we gamble on track and field, we gamble on
sporting
cricket,
events, yes.
Generally, yeah. So for I mean, we might even gamble on who will win elections. The truth of the matter is that the church has this responsibility to reinforce, to advocate for, to educate people on what the dangers are. And if we introduce people to, or facilitate the introduction to gambling as recreation, and we know the nature of man, that we're going to love to win, we're going to love money, and the scripture tells us that the man who loves money is not going to be satisfied with money. And he loves riches, is not going to be satisfied with his income. So we want to do things, yes, that facilitate, cater to the whole needs of man, but there are many other ways out to present what is safe and healthy and in keeping with our values, with wholesome values that build society, build community.
So you would not encourage a church bingo, Reverend Edwards,
No, sir.
even though the end result is positive and helpful to the elderly.
I have a funny feeling that the elderly would benefit from other things just as much, if not more.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Gentlemen, let's now zero in on the whole matter of casinos, because that we have casinos in Jamaica, I assume, but now there are regulations that are being put in place to govern the operation of these casinos going forward. Any particular concerns there, Father Sean Major Campbell?
Well, one would hope that the regulatory recommendations, practices, protocols are indeed observed, because one of the responsibilities of government is to protect people from any kind of predatory practice. Yes. There is also the matter of mental health concerns, maybe health in general, in terms of addiction, in terms of the potential for certain negative elements, because in some places, in other places across the globe, it's not unusual for the context to sometimes see more drug use, more drug sale, more in the area of sex work with the attendant risk. So there are all those things to be considered. But as we talk about casino, is it okay for us to engage in this question? What about someone who can afford to budget responsibly in order to enjoy that time with games of chance while on vacation and having access to a casino?
You're saying you don't see anything morally wrong with that?
Not necessarily.
Oh.
And here, when I raise these questions, I want to hasten to add that I could not just turn up at Christchurch and decide that I want to encourage them to have a bingo on a weekly basis or something like that, because it would go against what the Anglican Church's position is on gambling.
But you're saying it's okay. You go to a hotel, for example, and spend a weekend there, and you play games with the casino gambling.
I am saying if the person has the capacity to budget responsibly, because we want to recognize where gambling can get to a point where the individual takes chances with their mortgage money, their rent money, their children's school fees, and lunch money and bus fare.
But you're saying a responsible way. Okay.
I believe we should talk about responsibility.
Let's hear Reverend Edwards on that.
Well, my position is that once you open the door, the floodgates, you have very little control over what it is going to result in. And Father Campbell just spoke to the addictive potential in gambling. I'm sure Rise Life can tell us stories about that. I want to be careful. I would refrain from profiting off people's weaknesses
or vulnerabilities.
The vulnerability. I have great reservation about what we opening the door to what we cannot control, facilitating what is going to deprive others or exploit others. That is the position I would take. I want my hands to be clean when I am done chalking up fantastic revenues from a tourism venture or whatever.
To abstain from the appearance, eh?
Indeed.
Okay. Indeed. Father Major Campbell, any response there?
I just want to say, certainly as I listen to Pastor Edwards,
yes,
and throughout the course of this conversation, this is why it is important for us to have discussion and have conversation. Because all that he has said is valuable information and not necessarily something to be opposed. And that is why a program like this on Love 101 is necessary. So people can have a conversation in the headspace.
Right.
And not just feel that, boy, it's black or white. It's a reminder about the gray areas in these conversations.
Yes. I wonder, Father Major Campbell and Reverend Edwards, as we wrap, I wonder in terms of the government or leaders, with all of these concerns that you gentlemen have ably expressed, if they just shouldn't bother with it, avoid all listening about regulations and all that. Just don't have it. What do you think, Reverend Edwards?
Well, if I sense that the tourism industry and those who plan for it and lead it have a concern about maintaining our competitive advantage.
Yes.
and we
It's back
want
to the money. It is
yeah,
money.
man. We want to grow fast.
Yeah. Okay. I
which
get to
will-
wrap up signal, gentlemen. I'm so sorry. So sorry. I have to leave it there.
If wealth gained hastily will dwindle.
Yeah,
That is my little thing.
we have to leave it there, gentlemen. Very interesting, very informative. Have a safe, productive day. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Listeners, the Morning Watch and viewers, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Start your journey with a JN Small Business Loan with small business loans as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million. The time by JN Small Business Loan is
7:30 a.m.
See how my other face bruise up? They beat me just because I said I'm tired.
I'm only 13, but they said if I work harder, they will make me go back home.
We don't have no birth paper, nor ID. Them have all of my documents then. Forced labor is one of the many forms of human trafficking. Report suspected cases of human trafficking. Call the nearest police station, 119 or 888-PROTECT. A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
So you can make the part, travel part, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Clean hands are good for your health. In the wake of Hurricane Melissa, protecting your health includes a simple act: washing your hands. Use soap and safe water to remove dirt and germs after cleaning, before eating, and after using the toilet. If clean water is limited, use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. Remember, clean hands stop the spread of disease and help to keep families safe. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
This is a special announcement from Love 101 and Love Television. Our general offices will be closed to the public on Ash Wednesday, February 18, and will reopen on Thursday, February 19 at 8:30 a.m. Programs and commercials for Wednesday, February 18 and Thursday, February 19 should be submitted by 1 p.m. Tuesday, February 17, and obituaries and notices by 1:30 p.m. on the same day to ensure scheduling for broadcast. Love 101 and Love TV wish for you and yours a peaceful, prayerful, and productive Ash Wednesday.
Well, it's John
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at some headlines to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. First of all, JTA president condemns circulation of fake document claiming 50% increase in salaries for all teachers. Also, Auburn Hill optimistic new tax will inspire healthier beverage production. We also see that St. James Municipal Corporation commits to waiving 50% of outstanding debt owed by craft vendors in Montego Bay. The PNP says it stands in solidarity with government and people of Cuba as they confront an increasingly difficult humanitarian situation. And the Trinidad and Tobago's Homeland Security Minister condemns ungodly double murder. Those are some of the major headlines in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll share some of the feedback from our social media question. Do you believe Jamaica is ready for more casinos? Why or why not? We're asking to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Tuesday, February 17 on The Rock, we explore a truth as old as scripture but just as urgent today: the wonders of the tongue. Join guests Angela and Homer Slack as they dig into the power of words. The tongue may be small, but its impact massive. Spiritually, socially, and emotionally, it can build a nation or burn a family down. We're opening the books of James and Proverbs and asking, are we using our tongues as instruments of life or weapons of destruction? All this and more on The Rock, Tuesday, February 17 at 10 a.m. here on the family station Love 101.
February is the month of love, and wherever love is, peace is present. On the next Campus Connection, we shine the spotlight on peace in practice. Peace is more than a dream. It's a daily discipline. It invites each of us to become active peacemakers in our own lives. Peace is possible when love leads the way. Join us as Dania Aniki, nursing student at Seton Hall University, and Kadisha Williams, youth pastor and student at Portmore Community College, explore how words and images can inspire you to take simple, intentional steps towards peace and embrace the beauty of the present moment. And don't miss our special feature with representatives from the Restorative Justice Branch within the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, who will be speaking on the value of mediation and dispute resolution among our youth. Campus Connection is proudly brought to you by the Live Good Anti-Violence Campaign, an initiative of the Ministry of National Security and Peace, Jamaica's partner in advancing progress and building peace. Tune in on Tuesday, February 17 at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 FM, the family station, celebrating 33 years of shining the light of Christ to the world.
Things are going on from campus. Come on, let me walk one. Campus connection, take another one. Now, yeah. Hey, I walk one from campus.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. Do you believe Jamaica is ready for more casinos? Why or why not?
All right. So we have some response. Well, we have a response on WhatsApp, and it's from Edna. Edna, let me hear from you.
Good morning, morning watch, good morning, Love 101 listeners and staff. For me, where gambling is concerned, I would definitely call gambling a sin. Gambling is not of God, and anything that is not of God is a sin. Remember what God did when he went into the temple and saw them gambling, and he turned over the table, the money changers table. So gambling, to me, is second to coke addiction, because gambling costs you want to do it over and over again. You will use your family money to gamble, you will borrow to gamble, you can also steal to gamble. Yes, because you always want to win. I've been there and done that. You always want to win, and you think you're going to win, and you don't want to miss the chance of winning. So we always want to gamble.
All right. Thank you, Edna, for your response.
Okay. Thanks, Edna. Thanks for those interesting comments. All right. As we segue into the second watch, recent Gleaner article highlights the growing issue of e-waste. Now, globally, e-waste is one of the fastest growing waste streams. And so both globally and locally, it constitutes a major concern and challenge. Well, to discuss its associated issues and implications, we are joined by Sharon Williams, Community Relations Manager at the National Solid Waste Management Authority, and Craig Powell, CEO of Adtelligent. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Great. Good to have you joining us so early in the morning. I begin with you, Craig Powell. What really is e-waste, and why is it a concern globally?
Well, hi, everybody, for who's listening in.
Yes.
I would say that e-waste is anything that's electronic that has a battery or some sort of component that usually could be, let's say, bad for the environment, lead, lithium, whatever, or just an electronic component, which could be a motherboard, like a remote for something. It doesn't necessarily have a battery. And the waste is when it's no longer usable and it has to be thrown away, and you're going to put it somewhere, but you really shouldn't put that in a dump that could be, lit on fire, because you don't want to light a battery on fire. You don't want to light a motherboard or something with these electronic components on fire, because that can actually create all sorts of bad things for the environment, as well as the soil and also the air. And so e-waste is really just the problem of we have these specific types of trash that's no longer usable, but which shouldn't be disposed the same way. And in Jamaica, especially when you talk about e-waste now, when you have a call center that might have 2,000 computers with 2,000 matches, cords, copper in the cords that you plug in, all small amounts of trace of gold, all sorts of things, and they need to just dump these computers, and they can't sell them. They can't. Where does it go? And it's a huge problem across the world, because of course people have more and more devices, more and more electronic things. But in Jamaica specifically, as we all know, we all have devices now that's reaching end of life, and I don't think that the average person is aware that there's any process to throw that away separately from just putting it in garbage, which is really bad for the environment.
Yes. And I'm happy you ended there, because I wanted to ask Sharon Williams to focus on the Jamaican context in regards to e-waste, and what devices in Jamaica, as far as she knows, constitutes the main concerns. Sharon Williams?
All right, for us in Jamaica, I think the main concerns have to do with cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and even small electronic devices. Because annually, we often change these devices as technology becomes more accessible to us. And so while we may not see piles up of these items on the roadway, like we'll see the plastic bottles, they're here nonetheless. And it is evident when we do our collection drive. So these are the items that we get from time to time.
Yes. And you mentioned cell phone, you mentioned tablets, laptops. These are the major concerns in Jamaica. Am I getting you clear?
Yes, so the tablets, the old computers, people are even renovating, and he had made mention of the call centers. They want to upgrade their systems, and so they often call us to collect the old, outdated computers.
Yeah.
So yes, those are some ACs as well. Those also being discarded.
Right. I'm happy you mentioned ACs, because I'm worrying about like washing machines and all of those things, television sets. Those constitute e-waste, right?
Yes.
Yes, they would.
Yeah. Craig Paul, as far as you're aware, what measures have been or are being taken to address these concerns globally, and how effective have they been so far from your perspective?
Well, I think globally it's really led at a municipal level in each town or city in America or the countries, because trash and waste is done usually at the local level, not necessarily like by countries, by a city thing, and you say, what do you do with your trash? And there's processes to throw it away. But I think, as Sharon was just saying, in Jamaica, they're doing drives. I say we're doing drives, but I don't think all the public's aware. Some large corporates are aware, and there's a problem of just what do you do with your cell phone when it doesn't work? You can't just throw it in the garbage. I think that's the issue that we're facing now, because Jamaica is a small country, and as people have way more devices than they used to, because you can imagine the amount of electronics per person that has gone up from 2000, that's in 2025 years ago, 26 years ago, to today. Right? You have way more electronics per person in the island, and as those devices have no use, we need to figure out where do we dump it.
Yeah, stick up in right there. We're up on a break, lady and the gentleman. We'll be right back.
Time on Love 101 is now 7:45 a.m.
Jamaica, the national budget is here and it affects you, your family, your future, your community. It's all connected. Now is the time to get informed and get involved. What's new? What's changing? And how will it impact your daily life? Tune in on Tuesday, March 10 as the Honorable Faber Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, presents the 2026-27 Central Government Budget. The national budget is everybody's business. Visit mof.gov.jm for more details.
Start your day informed, alert, and ahead of the curve. Join us at 6:30 a.m. for the latest breaking news, weather updates, and everything you need to know. Clear, concise, connected. It's your morning news right here on Love 101 FM, the family station. On Mondays, the morning news is brought to you by the Ministry of National Security Live Good Anti-Violence Campaign.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is the second watch. We are addressing as best as possible concerns about e-waste. In so doing, we have online Craig Powell, CEO of Adtelligent, and Sharon Williams, Community Relations Manager at the NSWMA. Welcome to you both again. Thanks for remaining with us. Want to ask you, Sharon Williams, from the NSWMA's perspective, how are things been going in terms of dealing with our e-waste in Jamaica so far? How do you do it?
I have been going. The issue, though, as Craig would have identified earlier, is the lack of awareness, whereby persons will continue to mix even the cell phones, the chargers, and so on in the regular garbage.
That should not happen, you're saying? That's a no-no.
That should not happen.
Okay.
When that happens, it is not separated, and so it goes to the disposal site. So we want to encourage persons, and that's why we're happy for programs like these where we get an opportunity to speak to the public and to encourage them to separate your e-waste. You can take them to any of the regional offices island-wide. You can take them to 61 Harpurtree Road. You can take them to Hatley Park Road, where NPM office is. You can take them to WPM in Montego Bay. You can also take them to NEPM in Ocho Rios and SPM in Mandeville. You can drop them off at these locations instead of mixing the e-waste with the regular household waste. From time to time, we have fires at the disposal site, and these are some of the contributory factors to that. And so I want to encourage the public, please separate the e-waste, even if it is just one cell phone, do not mix it with the regular garbage.
And just to be clear, when you say separate, it's not that you should put it in a different bag and still put it for the garbage collectors to come and collect them. That's not what you're saying.
Unless we announce a collection drive where we're coming into your community specifically for e-waste. No, don't put it out there for the men to pick up. Bring it to any of the regional offices.
Well, so far, Sharon Williams, you have been seeing a lot of this. I mean, there's a major concern over the years. Persons have become more aware of not doing that. What would you say?
I would say the commercial operators are more aware. They often call us for the disposal of these. Even in the school community, they're very aware as well. So they don't just dispose of their items. And just last year in October for International E-Waste Day, we had a massive collection drive at St. Richard's Primary School. And the school community, the church groups, they came out and they did dispose of their e-waste. So I think people are becoming aware. It's just that we need to try and reach everybody.
Yeah. And I hope you mentioned about everybody. Craig Powell, I gather that there's an international treaty known as the Basel Convention, BASEL. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I gather that it's discouraging developed nations from quote unquote dumping their e-waste on the developed nations from dumping their e-waste on developing nations. And I don't know if you know about that, Craig Paul, and how has that been going, and what are the concerns going forward there? Want to say more on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's always these anti-dumping laws which come up, which are trying to people to stop sending things at the end of their life cycle, for cheap for developing nations. Just like you've ever seen those pictures of kids in Africa with these old clothes that are donated, and you're like, great. But then there's also all the clothes that they donate that nobody actually takes, and they just end up on the beach. And you have these piles of Texas A&M shirts and New York shirts. I love New York shirts, but they're in horrible condition and are just left in Africa that are now lit up. And it's the same thing where if you have cheap computers or cheap items that people sell into Jamaica that are close to the end of life cycle and they don't last very long, like a year, you've now created all of this e-waste. So for example, I've heard that there's people who reuse old solar batteries from China that are they're supposed to have like a 10 or 20 year life cycle, but they're only the batteries very last 2 years because it's cheaper to do, and sometimes customers don't know. But then you have all these batteries that have come, lithium ion batteries or lead acid, whichever type of battery that you use, but most battery systems are lithium, and they're big. And those batteries, you ever see a lithium fire, it's not a regular fire. It can't be put out with water. It can't be put out with a fire suppressor. And if you have those batteries being thrown away without anyone thinking about it into the garbage, that's a huge risk. And as Sharon was saying, even a cell phone, can be the cause of a fire. And with these laws, I mean, sometimes, it works, but other times, I just think in Jamaica, we have a problem that's growing and we haven't necessarily gotten to every single person about it yet. Because I don't recall me in my personal life ever dumping my e-waste properly. Like I've never done it. And in my business life, my business is about 8 years or old, or maybe about 8 years old, and all the e-waste that I have, which is it's just in some drawers. Like I have old laptops that I don't use, and I haven't necessarily got rid of it. And I see how, like, if I was a bank or a call center, it would be obvious I need to just have 100 computers I need to throw away. At that point, I would call. But for the small consumer, I think we would need to work together, Sharon, to communicators and just get it out to people so they're alert that this is what you do with it, and these are all the collection centers and
public education.
Because otherwise we'll be throwing away stuff because we don't know. Especially like the chargers, right? A charger itself is something that you shouldn't throw away within the same garbage bag, and you can go through chargers like crazy. So the chargers have copper inside and have other items which should be recycled or should be separated and not just be left to melt in a garbage dump. And as I say, it could be lit on fire, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Sean Williams, I'm just wondering, what about persons who have decided not to dispose of it, not to take it to 61 Halfway Tree Road or the other places that you mentioned, but to keep it in their house? Is that safe?
Well, it's not mixed. I don't see anything wrong with them keeping it in their house. But call us, and we'll meet you halfway. We'll come and collect them for you, especially if you have a good amount, right? But just don't mix it with
so
the
call the NSWME and they'll come for these things?
Yeah, we will assist. As I said before, from time to time we do have collection drives.
Free of cost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, our service is funded through payment of property taxes, so we don't ever charge people unless it's a commercial establishment. We don't charge residents to remove their waste.
And what about those persons, Sharon Williams, who at the dump sites, the landfills, and those who live nearby? How endangered are they with the exposure to e-waste, would you say?
They are even more endangered because should there be a fire, their respiratory systems now become, under attack. just imagine the toxic fumes that they are inhaling. The person living in close proximity would be at risk. And that is why we're encouraging persons as best as possible. Do not put the e-waste with the regular waste, because then it may not affect you, but it affects others.
Yes. And Craig Paul, as we went on our discussion, some don'ts were mentioned already in terms of separating e-waste from the other garbage and taking it to places like 61 Halfway Tree Road. Anything else you'd like to share in terms of recommendations and suggestions in handling e-waste?
Well, I hope that they can be, we can partner with like consumer facing centers like Price Mart and Shoeshone and Mega Mart and those places, and that, we could bring things to them eventually and
partner with them. Some more on that. I'm not sure I'm following.
Well, because to go to these specific locations that are out the way for regular consumers, the art of recycling stuff. The most important thing is actually the pickup. Where do you drop it off? That's the hardest part. And so most places, like when you want to do e-waste, you just say, okay, these are the stores that people might possibly go to on a regular routine. Let's just work with them and have a specific area where customers can bring in their stuff there, and then the government can pick up from there. So versus me going to the government's place for me to drop off at one charger, if it's just, I know every time I go to Mega Mart, every other month, I just bring all my e-waste there and drop it in a specific dumpster for that, somewhere, which is important, and the government actually picks it up, because you don't want to have all those batteries as a fire risk right there, and we take it from there, and the government takes it and dispose it properly. That's far easier than convincing people to just go to one location that has no other use for their time except for dumping those items, especially for people with small amounts of e-waste. For large consumers and corporate people, they'll do it because that makes sense. And even though it's free right now, I can't imagine if every single person was calling the government to say, hey, I have a charger or two chargers, can you come pick it up from my house? I think that would just be too much. And so it's really, in my opinion, it's better if you have a centralized system where, you partner with private entities to have more locations where you can drop these things off. And, it's some sort of environmental push, and, it's secure. So there's like a route, and the government knows, okay, every week we just go to these places because these are our partners. We've sensitized, we've done a communications thing, we've sensitized everybody about what you do. We start showing people how you save it in your house. Say, okay, in your house, don't put all the phones together in one place because that's a fire risk. Because I can't, again, when you start storing these things, if you have all of these things in one drawer, all these old laptops or old things or old TVs, that could also just explode. So that's not a good thing to do. But you say, okay, store it here, make sure they're separate, make sure they're not plugged in. Okay, now that it's prepared, this is how you bring it. You bring it to one of our partners, you give it to them, partner takes it, and then, the National Waste Management Authority, they take that and bring it to where it's supposed to be done. And I think that's the best thing to do. And lots of sensitization like this, so people are aware, like, okay, because I'm aware now, and I'm not gonna go dump my stuff, right? So that's a big difference. Just always like, that's so true. Let me not dump all these battery things that I have, which are tons of them, and kill some people in an area nearby when it's burning up, and they're gonna get those fumes, and that's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I never thought about it until the article that came in the newspaper a couple of weeks ago.
Right. And you, Sharon Williams, closing thoughts in less than a minute?
In less than a minute. While we do not have the resources to go to every house to pick up a cell phone or a battery or a laptop, we do have collection drives from time to time. So we set up as a community center, and we'll ask persons to come, or a school within the community, and we'll ask persons to come in and drop off. So we'll do more of those. And I do take Mr. Paul's consideration and suggestion, and I'll bring it to our heads.
All right.
I also want to just continue to encourage Jamaicans to work with us to keep Jamaica clean. Bag your garbage, put them in bins, separate your e-waste.
That's it.
And let us all work together for
Well said. Thank you so very much, Craig Powell, CEO of Adtelligent. and the Sharon Williams, Community Relations Manager, the NSWMA. Have a safe, productive day.
You too.
Great. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again on Thursday. Please note, Thursday, tomorrow being Ash Wednesday, as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information, how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Yashika Nevers, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, returning you to Love in the Morning with Jokal.